Hi folks, I am Dana Asher, a resident of the district and a teacher at Hope High and the president of FZEA. I want to thank the Board of Education members for their involvement in certified negotiations. Mike Swearengin, Erica Powers, Tommy George, and Tom Emmons were great to participate. We had great subcommittees and accomplished a lot. We had 100% of FZEA certified members who voted Monday vote yes. Non-members had an option to vote in an advisory capacity only, but declined to vote. I also appreciate Dr. DeBray bringing the recommendation to waive the contingency language in light of the ESSER's funding. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Arnie Dinoff.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Arnie A.C. Dinoff, public advocate. And a couple things I wanted to go over are, first of all, I'd like to talk about the state legislature. I talked about that last month's meeting. You all kind of know that there's an odd attack on public education, especially our legislators here in Charles County. They are some of the leaders, some of the ones who are trying to destroy and erode our state educational system. They're trying to attack our state education system, our public school districts, by diverting money to not-for-profits, to private schools, the school choice issue. They all have spin names and all these accolades. They want to change it to charter schools. Now in Kansas City, it's about 50-50 split on public schools versus charter schools. In St. Louis City, it's 60% St. Louis public schools, 40% charter schools. But there's a lot of bills, some of them passed this week again by both the State House and the State Senate. I would encourage you all to be engaged in the process. I would encourage you to contact the state legislatures, especially of our St. Charles County contingent, and the members of the Education Committee, both the House Education and Secondary Education Committee, and also the State Senate Education Committee. It's kind of shameful. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to have tax credits. They want to have educational credits, virtual learning credits. They want to have diversion of real estate taxes. And I'll tell you what, if they win that diversion of state income tax and real estate taxes, we're not going to have a public school system. The money and the funds are not going to be available and not going to be there to sustain what the services that we're currently providing. So it's something that's at a critical level, and it's something that we really, really need to address as a community, whether you're on the board or not. We need to work together on this. The next issue I'd like to talk about is April 6th and the tax levy. As you all know, I was very concerned about the superintendent just going out and asking for the money. At first, this started at 69 cents and then went down to 39 cents. I want to see detailed plan. I want the superintendent and this Board of Education to prove to me the need for a tax levy increase. And I want to see it down in writing. If there's going to be a tax levy, I want to see how much the teachers are going to get, how much is going to go to general obligations of the district to run our day-to-day operations, how much is going to go to the administration. And so I know that we had negotiations. I'm not sure, it was kind of secret. I'm going to have to make public information requests to the secretary to get the nuts and bolts and to see the actual agreement. But in terms of the levy out there were a lot of violations of our state constitution and ethics rules and regulations of the Missouri Ethics Commission. There were public monies that were spent for this election that should have been going to students in the classroom and to our operations rather than to run a campaign. And I really have a problem with that. There is some state legislation which I have asked for and have supported, and it has passed both the state Senate and the House, that will prohibit school districts and Board of Education from spending zero money on public elections. And that's either for promoting or opposing one candidate of the school board over another, or a ballot measure. I think that if there's going to be a ballot, it needs to come from citizens. The money needs to be raised from the community and not taking from students in the classroom. But there was no plan. There was just asking for 39 cents. And I'm sure the superintendent's going to recommend next month that you put a bond issue on the ballot for August, which is gonna cost this district a lot of money in election expenses, because nobody else in the county is gonna have an election. And I really don't see the need for building swimming pools at this time. That's a wish, that's a dream, that's a want, rather than the necessities that we have before us to educate our students and get them back up pre-COVID in terms of MAP scores and in terms of doing the responsible thing. So again, if you're gonna put a bond issue on the ballot, I'm asking you to be transparent and have the information forthcoming in a plan that's in detailed writing. And again, on the agenda, I'm asking that this new Board of Education, that we have more supporting documents, more detailed information about contracts, more detailed information that there's no ethics violations that are being violated, that staff members aren't being treated to lunch and to exotic tickets or gifts in terms of the bidding process and the contract process. And Mr. President, I appreciate you hearing my comments. Thank you.
I have one more speaker that's here tonight, and then I also have one that's online. I will go ahead and read that one first from Mandy Arbogast of O'Fallon. Her comment is, will elementary schools be able to have clubs back next year? Seems that high school sports have been successful with moving forward, so I'm hopeful the district will see the importance of a school club for elementary students. And then finally, Aaron Ness, if you could come forward, please. State your name and address.
Erin Ness, 5 Sunshine Court in O'Fallon.
Go ahead, stand at the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome back. My name is Erin Ness. I have 2 children in the Fort Zumwalt School District. I would like to propose the formation of a committee uniting the Board of Education, Fort Zumwalt teachers, principals, leaders, and parents for the 1 in 5 children in our district with dyslexia. Dyslexia is a learning disability. It affects the skills involved in reading, spelling, and writing. One of the misconceptions we hear is that dyslexia means a child is reversing letters and numbers. That is not the case. Dyslexia cannot be cured. It is lifelong, but with the right supports, dyslexia individuals can become highly successful students and adults. The research has been around for 125 years. It started in 1896 in England. Shortly before COVID-19, 5,173 of our K-3 children in Fort Zumwalt were screened for dyslexia as required by state law. 48 children were exempt due to possible impairments or their English language learners. 638 were not screened with no reason documented. Of the 5,173 K-3 children, 1,014 were documented at risk. So about 20%. Characteristics of dyslexia starts in preschool. Nursery rhymes, late speakers, trouble learning the alphabet, not recognizing their own name. Reading errors, no connections to the sounds, to the letters, complaints about how hard reading is, disappears, seen some temper tantrums, cannot sound out even simple words, doesn't associate sounds with letters. When they get a little older, they're very slow at acquiring their skills. They can't decode, which is sound out those individual sounds in a word. It impacts their speaking. They fill in things, stuff, filler words. They need extra time to respond to questions. They struggle to finish tests, poor spelling, messy handwriting, low self-esteem that manifests over time. Research shows that children who start with low word reading skills tend not to catch up. That is why we want to provide support as soon as we see a concern. We no longer see the value of taking a wait-and-see approach or thinking the student will grow out of it. Over time, struggling readers spend less time reading, which means they don't learn as many word meanings and don't have as many opportunities to develop comprehensive strategies, which often ultimately results in negative attitude towards reading. Sorry, I got out of order. There is a strong link between poor reading and incidents of poverty, crime, and interaction with the justice system. Something from the Department of Justice, the link between the academic failure and delinquency, violence, and crime is welded in reading failure. There is no research support for waiting to address the gaps in foundational skills. Good instruction can prevent this failure in 95 to 97% of our students. Remediating a student in 3rd or 4th grade takes 3 to 4 times as long as intervening in kindergarten. I am a mother of, a sister of, a daughter of, an aunt of, a teacher of, a friend of someone with dyslexia. I have multiple perspectives. Creating skilled readers is a fundamental goal that unites parents and educators. Teachers sometimes feel that they have to have everything perfect before they let parents see what they are doing. Parents sometimes feel uncomfortable questioning what happens in the schools. If teachers recognize that parents want the best for their child, and if parents recognize that teachers are also learners who continually update and improve their knowledge and skills, then students will benefit from true partnership that works on their behalf. Creating skilled readers is a fundamental goal that unites parents and educators. Oh, sorry, I wrote that twice. And we have a powerful goal in common, teaching our child to read, our children. Reading is an essential skill that impacts all subjects, so math, word problems. I could go on and on. Okay. We want to have teachers, parents, educators on the same page. We would like to partner in this journey and join together to create a committee for dyslexia, including parents and educators.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the consent agenda. You have that along with the certified and the personnel addendums, I'm sorry. I need a motion to approve and accept the consent agenda as presented.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Callahan, second please. George, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Ms. Rohr, financial reports.
Good evening, members of the board. I direct your attention to the monthly financial summary to pull together the financial statement, the investment schedule, revenue expenditure reports. For the month of March, monthly fund balance was $97,195,955.43. Of that balance, $71,163,302.83 was invested at the end of the month. As we've previously noted, investment rates have plummeted over the last year pretty much since COVID hit. Our current weighted average yield at the end of the month of March was 0.08%, with a weighted average days to maturity of 13, which is a very short investment schedule. Compared to last March, to put this into perspective, our average yield was 1.93% at that point in time on our investments. And the previous March before that, it was 2.66%. And we're currently at 0.08. That is how bad the investments are. So, and you've seen it in the budget revisions. We've lost over $1 million just in investment revenue because of those rate reductions. Revenues for the month of March totaled $12,970,022.68. For the month, revenues from local sources were $3.3 million, from state sources $8.6 million, and from federal sources $1 million. Year-to-date revenues are $3.7 million higher through March this year than they were compared to March last year. This is the result of numerous increases and decreases across quite a few different categories. Increases include $3.4 million in property tax revenue, which we'd planned on based on growth, new construction, changes in the tax rate. $300,000 more from Prop C from sales taxes. $4.6 million is from early childhood. I do want to point out that is just a timing variance. That is not an actual increase in revenue. It's just we received that revenue sooner this year than last year. So it's really just a timing. We also received funding of $1.7 million more in CARE stimulus funding so far this year. That does not include the additional stimulus we received for food service. Now, there were a lot of those increases were partially offset by some other decreases, total 6.9 million in other areas, in decreases in other revenue lines. We lost $1 million in interest earnings. We've lost a net 700,000 in food service. And as we've talked about, our local receipts are down from what we've collected from parents because that's being picked up from federal sources from stimulus money to help offset that loss. But the net is 700,000 less in the food service program itself. 1.4 million less in student activities. We haven't seen near the fundraisers go on or the trips. A lot of trips have been curtailed, so that's why 1.4 million less in student activities. And 1 million less combined so far in basic formula and transportation funding. I know the governor has released those funds, but we have not caught up to where we would normally be this time of year. So also we've seen 2.8 million less in proceeds from bond refinancing. Of course, that is one-time money. We had a refinancing this year to take advantage of the lower interest rates, which we're not getting on our investments. It's a good time to refinance our debt and help lower that cost. So we refinanced some debt this year and some last year. We just refinanced less this year. Expenses for the month totaled $20,123,007. For the month of March, salaries totaled $12.2 million, benefits $4.3 million, purchase services $2.4 million, supplies $800,000, and capital projects $400,000. Lisa just really hasn't been spending a lot of money this last month because that's usually where a lot of our capital expenditures come through is from bond. Year-to-date expenses are $10.3 million lower when we compare through March of last year. This is primarily due to $6.8 million less in bond finance capital spending. 3.3 million was related to debt, the debt refinancing we talked about, and the 6.8 for bond. If we just look at our operating expenses, the remaining decreases across a ton of categories throughout the district. Certified salaries are up 2.6% or 1.6 million, which we would expect to see based on staffing changes and implementing the salary schedule. However, there was an offset by support staff vacancies, which are down about 1.3 million so far this year. The vacancies are also driving down some of our benefit costs by another 600,000. Purchase service costs are running 528,000 higher in total at this point, and that is entirely due to tuition costs for the virtual instruction program. We had, as you guys recall, about 3,000 kids started in the virtual program. A lot of that was driven by launch, and so that's what's increased that we paid tuition for the launch program. And that actually increases 1.4 million overall that we've paid for that virtual instruction program so far this year. And I believe that's actually both semesters, so I don't think there'll be another bill. Is that right, Jen?
It was a second semester bill.
Yeah, but I think that's included in this.
Yeah,
I think so.
that's
So there won't be another one
Yeah.
later. Okay, I think so. Sorry, sidebar. This increase is also offset by some savings and reduced contract transportation. We're not seeing near the level of some of those kids are staying home, so we're not doing a lot of the outside transportation services that we had in the past. Also, some reduced travel and reduced student activities, which total about $1 million in savings. Supply costs are also down by $455,000 for the year, and that was mainly because of reduced food supply usage and student nutrition, combined with some minor savings from lower electricity and bus fuel usage. We're not driving near the routes that we have in the past because I think there are 3,000 less kids going to school. There's less transportation somewhat. We're not doing a lot of the charters, and a lot of the field trips have been cut out, so that's part of that. And without facility usage, I think that could be some of why there's reduced electricity usage as well. So that's the financial report for the month. I don't know if
Any
anybody
questions of
questions?
Mr. Orr regarding the budget summary? Or, I'm sorry, the
Financial summary.
I was just, my same question. I know we're gonna be talking about it a little bit later tonight, but projections for end of year balance?
Right now, if we get the full 4.8 million that we're expecting to get, they approved that budget today. I'm looking at being right around the 13% mark is what we should be in our operating fund, which is good.
Is that gonna bring us more closer to a balanced budget?
Actually, it'll mean we have a surplus at this point to get us up to the 13% mark, because our last budget was projected to be around 10.5%. So that will actually be a surplus to help bring the balance up some.
Okay.
from that stimulus fund.
So, 3 to 4 million, right?
Right, yep, 4 million.
Any other questions, Mr. Rohr? If there are none, I need a motion to accept and approve the financial reports as presented. Our second, please. George, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Old business, facility planning. Lisa Custer, why don't you tell us about your summer building repairs and renovations?
Hi, thank you. Good evening, board. I just wanted to bring you an update. We're gonna do a little bit of summer projects, and I'll be bringing that next month. We're gonna be doing a little bit of painting at Jail Mud, Forest Park, and some flooring at Progress South. All three of those schools just need a little bit of care in their buildings, from carpeting to painting of corridors and things like that. So it's not a whole lot this summer, but we are gonna try to hit a few schools and kind of spruce them up because they are showing some wear in some of these areas. So it'll just be a little bit. Then the next thing I believe on the agenda, you mean go ahead and bring.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about South High.
In your bid packets, there was a recommendation memo from myself to Dr. DeBray. We had put out to bid South High building repairs. We had to do some structural repairs over there. So on Wednesday, March 31st, we received bids for some structural foundation repair work. It's on the southwest portion of that building. That's the corner closest to Mexico and Bellow Creek. We have some settlement going on there, so we need to do some stabilizing of that. That is basically the staircase area, a little bit of the classroom wall, but nothing. I mean, nothing's gonna fall down or anything like that. We just noticed some settling, some cracks. So we put it out to bid. We contacted 8 companies to solicit bids. At the time of the bidding, we received 1 bid from Woods Basement Systems, doing business as Foundation Support Works by Woods. I've checked their references. Everybody I talked to said they do a great job. The structural engineer we're working with has worked with them, and they also say they do a really good job. So at this time, I would like to recommend awarding a contract to Woods Basement Systems in the amount of their bid totaling $57,025, and this work would be paid out of the 2018 bond issue funds.
Lisa, from that money's paid, is there a warranty on their work?
Yes, there is. I believe it's a lifetime warranty.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Custer? If there are none, I need a motion to approve the recommendation for the South High building repair.
Howard.
Powers, second. Moore, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Dr. DeBray, new business, please.
Thank you, Mike. First item under new business, I want to ask Paul Myers to update you on the outdoor education program. You know, what we're doing this year is not in the traditional fashion, and Paul's been working with principals and teachers and putting together an outdoor education experience that we think will be appealing to the kids. So Paul, if you would explain that to the board.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gray, members of the board. Just a quick update. We are pretty much in place and ready to go with plans. We're looking to roll out in the middle of May, once we're clear of map testing. The core of it, or the positive of it, is we're going to be able to bring those core activities that we do during our regular camp curriculum and bring those into the buildings. So while we obviously won't have the overnight components, we're going to bring the big experiences that we consider to be fundamental to camp. So pending kind of some follow-up, we have it in place to do our birds of prey, reptile presentations, all of the orienteering, the ropes courses, those things, and we're going to kind of, for lack of a better expression, it'll be a little bit of a traveling circus where we're going to bring them to the different locations. So at the base of it, you're looking at 10 activities that are fundamental, and then about another 9 or 10 that are supplemental, optional activities that we'll use to frame that program out at each building. We have people who have camp experience that will be running kind of the core ones. For example, archery is pretty important. You have trained people do that. So we'll be doing that with trained staff. The only other part that I briefly wanted to talk about is we're still putting the final pieces with this, but we do think we have a pretty good virtual option as well for those that are at home. We're gonna be able to present some activities that can be done with the virtual teacher, that can be done independently with the family, or can feed in, for example, like the Birds of Prey presentation. We're gonna be able, pending an agreement, to take that content and deliver that same content to them virtually, for those that are in that situation. So as much as we can, giving that equivalent duplicate experience at home, for those that we know can't be with us in person. So overall, I feel pretty good about where we're at. We've got a little bit of fine tuning I'd still like to do with it, and we've got a group that's been putting a lot of time into it. But I think we're at least gonna end up with that core experience, minus some of the, being up in Troy area. So, no action or anything needed. We had talked previously about giving an update, so wanted to kind of paint the picture a little bit. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board for Dr. Myers? Thanks, Paul.
All right, thanks.
Next item under new business is Jeff's usual request, issuing purchase orders. So Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, members of the board, I have a memo that I've drafted to Dr. DeBray, asking for your permission to grant authorization to begin creating and approving purchase orders for 21-22. At this time, basically, in a nutshell, most purchase orders are not approved. They might create them and they just sit there. We don't approve those until probably the 1st of July. But on occasion, there are things that maybe take an inordinate amount of time to order now so that they will be delivered in time for school. And those things would not be paid for until the next school year. So since the next year's budget hasn't been approved, I'm requesting to basically, I just roll over this current year's budget into next year for now and let them start entering their purchase orders. And if there's something that we need to approve and order, it's your authorization to do that. So that's what I'm asking for.
Any questions? Pretty standard at this point every year, I guess.
Yep.
I need a motion to approve the request to issue POs for next year's budget.
Move for approval.
Mr. Callahan, second, Mr. Moore. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is to recommend to the school board the FZEA Board of Education agreement for the next 3 years, our working conditions for our Teachers Association, and all of our certified staff that are members and non-members. It's all teachers. I just want to say, I'm going to let Henry go ahead and recommend that. He played an integral part in this whole thing. But I would like to say that I thought this was a good negotiation season. Everybody had their thinking hats on, and it was a good experience. And I think everybody walked away feeling pretty good. Everybody got heard. We did some really good work, and we've improved some working conditions for our staff. And so from my point of view, it was a good session. Henry, if you'd make the recommendation, please.
Sure, thank you, Dr. Gray. Good evening, members of the board. You do have in your packet a memo from me, a rather lengthy one, but that is lengthy because it contains all of the resolutions that were agreed upon as a result of the negotiations. 12 teacher questions were brought forth and 6 board questions, and as our process unfolded, we attempted to address and come to agreement on those questions, and those resolutions are contained therein. You've had that packet, and I believe Dr. Bray sent out those resolutions as well upon successful closing night right prior to spring break as well for your review. Those are the detailed resolutions, which will then be kind of transcribed and reworked into our entirety of our professional agreement, which will be ready to go by July 1 of the school year. Would like to thank Mr. Emmons, Mr. Swearingen, Ms. Powers, Mr. George, the association, and the other members of the staff who contributed to this successful negotiations. I did state in the memo that we were waiting on teacher ratification. That's just because this document was due for your review prior to the conclusion of teacher ratification. That did take place, as Dana Asher stated on Monday, concluded on Monday night, and that was successfully passed by the teachers as well at 100%. I'm happy to answer any questions. If there are none, I just recommend that you approve the resolutions as stated.
Any questions for Dr. St. Pierre? There are none. I need a motion to approve the FZEA Board of Education agreement as recommended. Mr. George, second. Mr. Evans, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Thank you. The next item was a recent addition to the agenda. Earlier this afternoon, we received approval of our ESSERS 2 application. Jeff Orr and Paul Myers had worked on that pretty diligently. And once it's been approved, in fact, I sent to the board even the DESE approval of that as well, so you know that it's a done deal at this point. So we're gonna get the money. It's the 4.8 everybody's been talking about. I don't know if it'll be here in time to meet the contingency language as it's stated. We have contingency language on the 21-22 salary schedule, which says that if the balance in the general fund is 12% or better by June 30, which is the end of our fiscal year, that will kick in movement on the salary schedule, and it has some language in there. So as far as I'm concerned, with that approval by DESE, it's a done deal. We're going to get it. We'll either have it by June 30 or shortly thereafter. And under those circumstances, I would like to recommend to you that you waive the contingency as it was originally written, and let's move forward with movement on the salary schedule for our staff, our teaching staff.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. DeBray regarding this item? If not, I need a motion to approve the recommendation to waive the contingency language from the 2021-22 certified salary schedule.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the contingency language.
Mr. McCormick with the motion, second. Mr. Callahan, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That's nice.
Yeah, I know all the board was hoping that would come through, and it did. I didn't know if it would come through or not, but it did, and it's a done deal, so we've got an application that was approved. Appreciate the hard work Jeff and Paul put into that, making it happen as soon as it did, so good news. So what that does is bring us to review of the April 6th election. And I just need to let you know that on April 6th, we had 2 members elected to the Board of Education for new 3-year terms. The top vote getters were Tommy George Jr. and Gabriel Helms. And they have new 3-year terms on the school board. We'll miss Mike McCormick. Mike's been on the board for 12 years and been a real strong supporter of the schools. But time marches on. So Tommy George Jr. and Gabriel Helms will be our new board members for the next 3 years. At that same election, our Proposition Strong Schools failed with 6,075 no votes and 4,107 yes votes. That's a pretty definitive no. We have 49 precincts, and of those 49 precincts, only 5 passed. Took a simple majority to pass. So that's disappointing. And you take a look at that and you wonder what the heck happened, because, we were in a pretty good spot. I think Fort Zumwalt is a popular district in our county. People wanted us to come back face to face. We did. We've had over 15,000 kids face to face, and all their sports teams, and everything has been what I think people wanted. So it was a little surprising, but then when you take a look at it, we had some issues here. Number one, we were on spring break, so we did not have our teachers here. We did not. Parents probably were in the process of spring break activities. We were maybe in an awkward time, considering we're coming off the pandemic and people are concerned with the economy. Is there going to be a job there, or isn't there going to be a job there? So I think that was a concern. I don't believe we got all of our the voters that we needed to get out, our staff and our parents. And we can pass anything that we put up with our staff and our parents. But you know, it's our responsibility to inform the public. We have a responsibility to do that, to let people know when the election is, to let people know what it's about, and to let people know, you know, how you're going to spend that money. And I think there was plenty of information on our website that explained why we needed it and what we were going to do with it. So I think that was a problem. And I think that, well, as I look at it, we only got 10,000 votes out. In the county of St. Charles, it was a 9% voter rate. 9% of the electorate came out to vote. That's terrible, terrible. One of the lowest rates in the last 20 years. So I think that's a problem. The last election we had that we passed the tax increase was 2016, and we got 17,000 voters out. That's 7,000 more than what we had on this election on April 6th. So I gotta believe that a lot of those 7,000 voters, if we would have generated that kind of interest, would have been more positive, certainly more positive than what we got. Many of our tax levies take 2 times to get passed. Happened many times before. The tax levy that passed in 2016 failed in 2015. And it only passed, Proposition K only passed when we got more voters out. So I think that had a lot to do with it, guys. You know, the next election is, is August, but in odd numbered years, it takes 66 2/3% to pass. So we would have to really think long and hard. The last bond issue we passed was 2018. We passed that bond issue with 68%. And we passed in every one of our 49 precincts. So, you know, probably anti-tax, low voter turnout, had a lot to do with it. Spring break. We can analyze it and talk about it more, but I wanted to give you that information. So the bottom line is it failed 6,075 no votes, 4,107 yes votes. Those are the unofficial election results that are provided to us by the election authority. I'll be recommending the official election results at the next board meeting, but we had to present these to you. That's why we bumped this meeting to the 15th. We have to do that within 10 days because we're viewed in the state as an urban district, and therefore we have different laws that apply to us. So that's the results. Would like to recommend that you approve those unofficial election results and then proceed with the meeting.
Any questions for Dr. DeBray regarding the election results? If not, I need a motion to approve the unofficial April 6th, 2021 election results as presented.
I'll move for approval as presented.
Callahan, second, please. Powers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Before this board adjourns Cindy, I'd like to ask Mr. McCormick to step down on the floor. So it's been my pleasure to know Mike for 12 years as a school board member. We've done some pretty great things here. You've got your name and your stamp all over, your fingerprints and DNA all over the district. So be proud of what you've done. We are so thankful for your service, and there was a little reception beforehand, so there might still be some cake if you all want some cake. But Mike, we honor you for your outstanding service for 12 years as a school board member for the Fort Zumwalt School District. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
take this off?
Yeah. I'd like to say before we let Mike sit down here that, I've known him for 12 years as well. There's only a few board members that have been on the school board that long. And if you go back through some of the buildings that we built, like MG and Osman, you're going to see your name on those dedication plaques, which tells the public that you had a part in that. And it's been great to know you, and you've been such a strong supporter. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right, with that, I need a motion for this board to adjourn Cindy. Powers, second Moore. Roll call?
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Tommy,
Yes.
Mike Swearingen,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Okay. It is, with that, time for us to swear in our new board members. Tommy George, who's not really new, and Gabe Helms, if you would step forward.
And Gabe would like to go by Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Yes. Just thought I'd put that out there. Forgot to tell you earlier.
I'm gonna call him brother.
That's for you. Good, how are you? Here's for you. I'm going to be reducing this for repeat, but this is the stuff, okay? So. Okay, I do solemnly swear.
Hold it up.
I do solemnly swear
Swear.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
That I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri.
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of member of Board of Education
And that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of member of Board of Education
in and for Fort Zumwalt School District, County of St. Charles, State of Missouri,
in and for Fort Zumwalt School District, County of St. Charles, State of Missouri,
to the best of my ability, according to law, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, according to law, so help me God.
Congratulations. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to do pictures now or later?
I'll definitely do a picture, Mr. Helms, later. We'll get it all squared away when you guys are done.
Okay.
Gabriel,
Yes, sir.
take a seat.
Can I grab my billfold?
Sure, go ahead. Over to the dais. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. DeBray as we need to conduct the election of
Yep.
officers.
Temporary chairman.
Yep.
I'd like to open the floor to nominations for the president of the Board of Education for the next year. Say the word, John.
I would like to nominate Michael again.
Okay, nomination for Mike Swearingen. Is there a second?
Dr. Bray. I'd like to nominate Erica Powers.
Okay. I think I need to get a second on Mike, and then we'll see if there's other nominations. Is there a second for Mike Swearingen? Okay.
Second.
We got it. Okay. We got a motion and a second for Mike Swearingen to be president. Are there other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Erica Powers.
Have a nomination for Erica Powers. Is there a second to that nomination? All right, hearing none, that motion dies. Are there other nominations? like to entertain a motion and a second to elect Mike Swearingen as president by acclamation. Motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. Mike, you're the man.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I need to open the floor for the election of vice president. Are there any nominees for vice president? Mr. Moore?
I'm gonna nominate Erica.
Erica? Second. Any other nominations on the floor for vice president?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Mr. Callahan?
Kelly, thank you.
If there are no other nominations, then I'd like a motion to elect Erica Powers vice president by acclamation.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. All right, at this time, comments from the Board of Education. Mr. Evans?
Couple things came up tonight that I want to call out. First, we did talk about the school choice bills. Had a chance to talk with some of our state legislators the other day, and I think it's important that we all work to also remind our families and our communities that we've all made the choice to come to this district. Some of us have moved to come here. I made that choice, come back to this district, made a choice to get involved. Right? Mr. Helms made a choice to get involved. We all have. So I want to just make sure that we're not talking about the idea that school choice simply means that we move away from public education either. We've made great choices to be here too. The other piece of that, we had a conversation about dyslexia this evening. My daughters have dyslexia. We've had that conversation on this board. I would love to see us move forward with some kind of a committee that can provide us additional recommendations, partner with our district leadership too, start talking about some of the new advances in that, and the way we could look at it and target more support for our students. See nothing but good that can come from that. So anything we can do there that would be really advantageous to all of us. That's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Helms, welcome aboard. Do you have any comments?
Not at the moment.
All
Just
right.
taking it all in, trying to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can.
Mr. Callahan?
I just wanted to comment that I believe that we have done our best effort to inform the public why we needed that tax increase. We went through an extensive and well-defined need in this social media platforms, and the data was out there on the why of the need. I think it was an excellent effort. I just am still surprised at the weight of the no vote. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moore?
I'd like to see the resolution of the professional agreement, going through that. Looks like a lot of hard work and time got placed into that, and a lot of good things came out of that. And it was really good to see that. Was really glad to see us be able to waive the contingency tonight, like I know it's all were. It's really good to see that for our teachers and for our staff. And last but not least, just wanted to personally thank Mike McCormick for his years of service, because he's been a good stable voice and a stable person to have on this board. And I've known him just the whole time that I've been on the board here, and it's been great working with him and the things that he achieved. So
thank you, sir. Mr. George, welcome back.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the voters for having confidence in putting me back up here. Hopefully I've done not too bad a job. I really want to thank Henry and the whole committee. That was really fun doing the win-win, getting involved like that. It's a lot of hard work. A lot of people don't know, if you don't do one, you don't know what all goes into it. And there was a lot of hard work to it. So congrats to everybody on that. Like I said, I'm glad we got to waive that contingency language. That'll be a good thing. And I want to apologize to anybody that tried to get a hold of me on the district email that I missed in the last couple weeks. been quite busy, a lot of things going on in my life right now, but, I want to apologize to those people that I wasn't ignoring them, I just was very busy.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. And again, congratulations to Mr. Helms and to Mr. George. Looking forward to a nice, strong board coming up this next year. I also want to thank Mike McCormick for his service. A dozen years is quite an accomplishment, and always the voice of reason, and did appreciate his service. So my best to him and his family. And again, to my colleagues, thank you for your trust and your support for me. I want to, at this point, ask for a motion for this board to go to closed session for the approval of the minutes from the March 15th meeting for student personnel, hiring, firing, promotion personnel, and what did I do? What? Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Not on purpose.
Sure.
No.
I have a lot to say,
Go ahead.
surprisingly.
Go ahead.
I wanted to thank Mike as well. A lot of people didn't know, he was really involved with the MSBA. He took positions on, and he taught me a lot when I came on the board of getting involved in that. So I want to thank him for that and all the time he spent with it. I also want to thank Tom. He went up to Jeff City and met with a lot of people and got a lot of information out there and got conversations rolling, which I think is important. We've all touched on that. But everybody needs to be doing that, especially now, and being informed and getting the voices out there. And then lastly, with dyslexia, you guys know that's very close to my heart as well, that it affects my family, my children, my husband. And I think any time that we can get information and everybody working together, that it, like Tom said, it works out best for our kiddos, it helps our teachers. So I'm 100% for working and getting committee together. So that's all I got.
I'm so sorry. Okay, anyone else have any comments over here? Coming back around again, Gabe. All right, so now I need a motion for this board to go to closed session for the approval of minutes from our last closed session, student personnel, and the hiring, firing, and promotion of our personnel.
I move for approval as presented.
Okay, and second by Powers. Roll call, please, Ms. Breen.
John,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Tommy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Tom.
Okay, we'll take about a 5-minute recess and then we'll Oh, you good?
Yep.
All right.
Go.
So if there's no other business before the board tonight, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Callahan, second. Powers, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you.